But I am going to ask you about Aaron Rodgers in New York. And what do you think the most likely scenario is for him there in terms of success? He gets healthy. He's been rejuvenated. He's in that. I don't know if the New York media market is as big of a deal as it once was.
I totally agree with that.
I think that's an old, tired narrative because it was. Listen, I'm from Washington, D.C. I was a local reporter there for a long time before I went to NFL Network. And that was a tough market, but it wasn't as tough as Philly. It wasn't as tough as D.C. And it was very different than a place like Green Bay or Nashville that didn't have as many media members, right? But
here's the thing actually about that I think there's a misconception about Green Bay is that there's actually it's the only thing here, the whole state. I mean, at every Wednesday at Aaron Rodgers' locker, there's 30-plus reporters standing around there. Like the Packers beat reporters have a bigger traveling corps than like Chicago's group or Detroit's group. I mean, so there is that sense, and I've always been a little defensive about it because I think there is a little bit of that misconception. Now, I think the difference is that maybe the Packers market is more about football and less about it's more the beat writer driven than it is columnist driven. You know, there's maybe not as much opinion out there, and I also think that, again, this is my perception from the outside, so tell me if I'm wrong. Sometimes the headlines in the tabloids in New York don't necessarily match the story, right? Like, I mean, they go for the big headline, which I think they're full. Every couple of weeks I go on the Daily News and the Post and just look at the covers because I think the headline writers are outstanding. And then the other thing, too, I think it's more away from football where it's the difference. I mean, we've already seen him at, a Rangers game and a Knicks game, and the photographs. I don't know what's on page 6 about him, but they're, I joked with Rich when I was on a couple of weeks ago about this. I said, look, there's no page 6 in the Green Bay Press Gazette. Well, actually, there is a page 6, but it's either the farm report or the church notices or something like that, right? There is no paparazzi here. So I think that's where the difference is to me, where the rest of his life outside of football is maybe going to be a little bit more scrutinized. If they lose and he's at a game the next day in Manhattan, maybe there's, some funny headlines about that. But he was actually, he loves to talk about football. He's really good with answering questions about football topics that he's interested in. And I, from a performance standpoint, real quick, I would expect, knowing Aaron, having covered him for his whole career, I would expect him to come out with a absolute desire to show the Packers that they were wrong to move on. When they drafted Jordan Love, I remember a coach telling me this is really going to light a fire under Rodgers, and sure enough, the next 2 years he wins MVP both years. So I expect him to play very similar to that in the regular season. The question that I think everybody has is, does he still have it when it comes to the elimination games, the playoff games? I mean, since they won the Super Bowl, I believe has been, you have to double check this, but I'm pretty sure his playoff record is 7-9. So it's basically a season's worth of playoff games, and he's 7-9, which is not good. And then you throw in last year's basically playoff game, the regular season finale against Detroit. That was, they win that during the playoffs, and he was not very good in that game either. There's plenty of questions that I think the Packers organization came to the realization, look, we won 13 games 3 years in a row, and we never got past the NFC Championship game. And not that it's all on Rodgers, but there were times where he could have tilted the field like he used to, and it just didn't happen.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.